By now, I'm sure you heard Donald Trump's infamous speech in Dayton, Ohio, where he said there would be a bloodbath if he were to lose. And Donald Trump and his followers say, look, he was speaking about the auto industry and saying that if he loses, the bloodbath would be how our auto industry would do. And first, let me play you this clip. But then what I want to show you is that this is the behavior of Trump and MAGA and their stochastic terrorism, to have this plausible deniability, just use this very dangerous rhetoric and then kind of garble it with everything else and then be like, well, we didn't really mean when we said go and we're going to march with you to the Capitol and take back everything. We didn't actually encourage you to do that. We were just speaking in terms of metaphors. And so first, let me show you this clip, and then I want to talk to you about what's really going on here. But first, play the clip that you probably have all seen. One of our digital editors, Asen, was one of the first to clip this. Here, play this clip.
And you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole, that's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. But they're not going to sell those cars. They're building massive factories. A friend of mine.
So after that, you had numerous right-wing MAGA accounts like End Wokeness, and you also then had Elon Musk weigh in. End Wokeness goes, we are witnessing the invention of the, quote, bloodbath hoax in real time. Unfortunately for them, we have X. And then it goes, media narrative. Trump says there will be a bloodbath if he loses. In Ohio rally, this is from CBS, Trump says there will be a bloodbath. Rolling Stone. And then they say, well, the full context is that Trump was talking about the auto industry. And then Elon Musk responds, interesting. Then there's another post from this right-wing End Wokeness account that says, Nancy Pelosi just told CNN that Trump might exact a bloodbath if he loses. The bloodbath hoax is in full swing. And then Marjorie Taylor Greene, of course, she had to chime in. And Marjorie Taylor Greene responds basically the same thing, that the left wing, they're using this, where they go, the Democrats and the media lie constantly about what Trump says. And she calls him president, which he is not. They twist his phrases and sarcasm and tell the public he said something he did not. When Trump said there will be a bloodbath if Biden wins, he was talking about the auto industry, and he's right. Okay, well, let's take a look at what Donald Trump also posted this very morning. What he posted. Here's what he said about Liz Cheney, a Republican. Donald Trump said she should go to jail, referring to Liz Cheney, along with the rest of the unselect committee, referring to a bipartisan January 6th committee investigating Donald Trump's attempt to overthrow our democracy on January 6th and even to this day. Our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, wrote, Trump calls for all members of Congress who served on the J6 committee to be in prison. I wonder what that context is all about there. Also, it should be noted that in that same speech where Donald Trump talked about a bloodbath, he began the speech by playing a song that he created with the J6 insurrectionists. He calls it the J6 anthem, or the spirit of J6. And they've taken our national anthem, they've changed some of the lyrics, and it's a song between Donald Trump and imprisoned insurrectionists who Donald Trump calls hostages, and then he salutes and makes the audience pledge allegiance to the J6 hostages, as he calls them, and then he brags about the song.
Please rise for the horribly and unfairly treated January 6th hostages.
So I'm trying to, what is the context there that he is saying that J6 rioters are hostages and has created an anthem to replace our national anthem? And then you use the word bloodbath in your speech. Here's what happened in Dayton, Ohio. This is how Donald Trump starts every speech, with the pledging of allegiance to the J6 anthem spirit song. Here, play this clip.
Well, thank you very much. And you see the spirit from the hostages, and that's what they are, as hostages. They've been treated terribly and very unfairly, and you know that, and everybody knows that. And we're going to be working on that soon. The first day we get into office, we're going to save our country, and we're going to work with the people to treat those unbelievable patriots, and they were unbelievable patriots and are. You see the spirit, just cheering, they're cheering while they're doing that, and they did that in prison, and it's a disgrace, in my opinion.
So I wonder, should we have to parse out the context for that? Or what about in all of Donald Trump's speeches where he basically directly quotes Adolf Hitler in his speeches? And we've created a list of all of the examples where it's basically ripped word from statements that Hitler made. All right, but what else? What other data do you have for Ben? Well, let me show you one other clip of, and this is at all of his speeches where Donald Trump calls the insurrectionists hostages. And in this one, in the last few months, he goes, referring to President Biden, he goes, "Release the hostages, Joe. Release the hostages." Play this clip, and then I want to show you what went down in Waco, Texas. But first, play this clip.
What they've done, and they ought to, you know what they ought to do? They ought to release the J6 hostages. They've suffered enough. They ought to release them. I call them hostages. Some people call them prisoners. I call them hostages. Release the J6 hostages, Joe. Release them, Joe. You can do it real easy, Joe. This guy, what he's done to people.
Now I want to remind you, our viewers, our listeners, and those who are new to the MeidasTouch, Donald Trump kicked off his campaign basically a year ago, almost exactly a year ago. The first place he spoke was in Waco, Texas, to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the standoff in Waco, where the Branch Davidians, a group of terrorists who frankly look a lot like what the types of things that Trump and the MAGAs are saying today, attacked the federal government, and it resulted in about over 80 deaths. And, what happened in Waco has been cited as motivations for people like the Oklahoma City bomber, Timothy McVeigh. By the way, I won't do it here, but if you actually look at the types of statements that Timothy McVeigh made, they're almost indistinguishable from the modern day MAGA Republican platform. Just go and do a Wikipedia search of Timothy McVeigh. You'll read some of his statements and speeches. It's like, whoa, that just sounds like it's something a MAGA congressperson says today. But yes, on the 30th anniversary, Trump chose Waco, Texas as the site of the speech to launch his campaign. And here, speaking in Waco, Texas, Donald Trump attacks the Supreme Court for not having the, quote, courage to overturn the results of the 2020 election. Play this clip.
But the Supreme Court is afraid, just like Republicans are afraid, to do something about what has happened, and they have to fight. The Supreme Court didn't have the courage to right the wrong of the 2020 election. They knew what was going on. Tax returns were always considered sacred. Lawyers, in their own way, if you can believe this, were considered sacred. Today, lawyers go before grand juries all over this place if they happen to be lawyers representing Republicans, and they treat lawyers like they're criminals. It used to be if you had a lawyer, the lawyer was somebody that was very much considered from the standpoint of what we're talking about, above reproach. Now they get thrown in with everybody else, and it's a very unusual situation that's taking place. And again, legal scholars can't believe what they're witnessing.
So tell me the context, please. Explain to me the context of giving this speech in Waco, Texas, celebrating the 30th anniversary of a terrorist group's attack on our government and saying things like that. Or how about saying that the 2020 election was rigged? Play this clip.
Through the roof. I guess you've seen that. They don't like it. They don't like it. We won in 2016. We won by much more in 2020, but it was rigged.
Or how about praising President Xi and Putin in Waco, Texas? Play the clip.
I used to talk to Putin. I got along well with Putin. I used to talk to Putin about it. It's something he certainly had in his mind. Never even talked about it. For 4 years, you didn't even hear about it. As soon as I was out or left, or however you want to describe that catastrophe, they started putting soldiers on the border. But even then, he didn't want to do it. He wanted to get a peace. Now it looks like he'll end up probably getting the whole thing. But I've never seen anything like it, what's happened. And if you saw the other day with President Xi, smart, top of his game. President Putin, smart, very smart people, standing there talking about the world order for the next 100 years. That's one of the saddest things you can imagine, one of the saddest.
Or how about the opening act to Donald Trump was Ted Nugent, who said this in Waco, Texas. Play the clip.
I want my money back. I didn't authorize any money to Ukraine to some homosexual weirdo. I want my money back.
Sleep is the foundation of our mental and physical health. When you're sleeping well, you can perform at your best mentally and physically. Proper sleep can also increase focus, boost energy, and improve your mood. Introducing Beam's Dream Powder, a science-backed healthy hot cocoa for sleep. If you know me, you know that Dream has been an absolute game changer for my sleep. Sometimes I find myself up at night in bed with my thoughts and uneasiness. Well, that's not the case anymore because I started to drink Beam's Dream Powder. Prior to Beam's Dream Powder, the poor sleep and late nights staying up really affected my mood and energy, but not anymore. And today, our listeners get a special discount on Beam's Dream Powder. Their science-backed healthy hot cocoa for sleep with no added sugar. Now available in delicious flavors like chocolate peanut butter, cinnamon cocoa, and sea salt caramel, with only 15 calories and 0 grams of sugar. Better sleep has never tasted better. Other sleep aids can cause next-day grogginess, but Dream contains a powerful all-natural blend of reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, melatonin, and nano-CBD to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. The numbers don't lie. In a clinical study, 93% of participants reported Dream helped them get better sleep. Beam Dream is easy to add to your nighttime routine. Just mix Dream into hot water or milk, froth, and enjoy before bed. Find out why Forbes and New York Times are all talking about Beam and why it's trusted by the world's top athletes and business professionals. If you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder and get up to 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/Meidas and use code Meidas at checkout. That's BEAM.com/Meidas and use code Meidas for up to 40% off.
So then, of course, Fox wants to do the dirty work for Donald Trump, clean up for him. Maria Bartiromo, she did a weekend show, which is just, it would make North Korea propaganda blush, make Kim Jong-un blush. And here Maria Bartiromo says, look, he was talking about the auto industry, the bloodbath in the auto industry. Here, play this clip.
President Trump says Biden's climate change agenda is driving the auto business into bankruptcy. And the result will be a bloodbath of unemployed workers. The remarks triggering dishonest headlines about what he actually said from the mainstream media this morning.
The way I deal, those big monster car manufacturing plants that you're building in Mexico right now, and you think you're going to get that, you're going to not hire Americans, and you're going to sell the cars to us. No, we're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. But they're not going to sell those cars. China's building really big plants in Mexico, and Mexico's building. What about here? Well, we're building much smaller plants here.
And we've seen this from Donald Trump before. Remember in 2020, the types of dangerous and ridiculous fear-mongering that Donald Trump and the Republicans would engage in. When you watch some of the stuff, you go, wow, he did say that. I remember he said that. For example, in 2020, Donald Trump said that if President Biden wins, there would be no more religion. Play the clip.
Religion will be gone, okay? Life, you could forget about that, the whole question of life. Supreme
When you
Court,
say life, you mean abortion?
Absolutely. 100%. That whole question, which is a very, it's always been a 50-50 thing. It's actually trending a little bit more toward one
when
side.
When you say religion is going to be gone, what does that mean?
Look at what they're doing to the churches. They won't let the churches even open if they want to stand in a field 6 feet apart. We've had churches that wanted to stand in fields 6 feet apart.
In 2020, Donald Trump said that if President Biden were to win, there would be no schools and no graduations. Play the clip.
The Biden lockdown will mean no school, no graduations, no weddings, no Thanksgivings, no Easters, no Christmas, no 4th of July, no future for the youth. Other than that, it's actually quite good.
Donald Trump said that if President Biden were to win, there wouldn't be money because he says money would be worthless. Play the clip.
Look at how we're doing in the stock market. Just set another record with NASDAQ. Your 401ks and money itself will be worthless. Your 401ks are doing very well, unless, I don't want to say, if you were stupid, I said, don't sell, don't sell. It went down, but we got it back up. And now NASDAQ, think of it, NASDAQ just set a record, and I think you're going to see a lot of records. And next year, if we don't do anything stupid on November 3rd, you are going to have the greatest economic year we've ever had. That'll be next year.
Then Donald Trump, in just blatant racism, says that Cory Booker, an African-American senator, is coming to destroy the suburbs, basically. Here, play this clip of Trump saying that. Play the clip.
You know, I ended a regulation that will destroy suburbia. If Biden got in, they will destroy the suburbia. We call it suburbia of the world, and we love it. I know it well. Westchester County, the suburban... if you say suburban housewife, you're in deep trouble. So what you do is you say suburban women. They love me. You know why? They want security, and they don't want projects being right next to their house. That's okay. They don't want it. And by the way, that includes minorities, because 29 to 30% of the suburban communities are minorities, and that includes them. They don't want that. They want safe communities. They want great communities. They don't want to lose the American dream. It's very simple. I got rid of the regulation from Obama, Biden, that was destroying suburbia, okay? Destroying it. And I think suburbia has got to wake up, because if they get in, you know who's in charge? You know who's in charge of the program? Cory Booker. Cory Booker. Cory Booker. So I think the suburban women and suburban men and husbands and wives and everybody, you better get smart, because you're not going to have your dream very much longer if they get in. If I get in, you've got it.
So explain to me the context here, because it seems pretty consistent, the types of things he's saying. When you're quoting Hitler, when you're praising the insurrectionists, when you replace our national anthem with a song by the insurrectionists and you call them hostages, and then you start using terms like bloodbath, there's going to be a bloodbath, and you led an insurrection against our country, how are we supposed to feel? How are we, the people, supposed to feel? And I like that President Biden is going on the offense and being aggressive. President Biden posted, "It's clear this guy wants another January 6th, but the American people are going to give him another resounding electoral defeat this November." And the Biden campaign put out a statement, the Biden-Harris campaign statement on Trump promising a bloodbath if he loses. Tonight, Donald Trump said there would be a bloodbath if he wasn't elected, and that if he lost, there would be no more elections. After opening the general election by meeting with authoritarian leaders and rallying alongside conspiracy theorists, Donald Trump continues to praise dictators, promise to pardon political violence, and launch racist attacks against black and brown Americans. It's why last night, Trump's own former Vice President Mike Pence, who Trump supporters called to hang for not overturning the election, came out against Trump. This is who Donald Trump is, a loser who gets beat by over 7 million votes, and then instead of appealing to a wider mainstream audience, doubles down on his threats of political violence. He wants another January 6th, but the American people are going to give him another electoral defeat this November because they continue to reject his extremism, his affection for violence, and his thirst for revenge. Sign the Biden-Harris campaign. So you judge the context for yourself. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 3 million subscribers together and have a wonderful day.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.